Daniel stepped off the airplane and took a deep breath. He was finally home after 5 years. He had planned this trip for months. He would surprise his mother, hug her tight, and tell her that all her prayers had been answered. He was rich now. She would never have to suffer again. But what Daniel would find when he arrived at the house he built for her would change everything he thought he knew about his life. Hello friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? New York? London? Maybe Jamaica or South Africa? We want to know. Daniel Miller was a billionaire. He owned 3 companies, 2 hotels, and had money in banks across the world. People wrote articles about him. They called him the boy who became a king and the genius who turned dreams into dollars. But 5 years ago, Daniel was just a poor young man with torn shoes and big hopes. Back then, he lived with his mother, Mama Ruth, in a tiny apartment with walls so thin you could hear the neighbors coughing at night. Mama Ruth was the one who made Daniel's success possible. When Daniel was young and his father died, Mama Ruth didn't cry for long. She dried her tears and went to work. She washed clothes for rich families. She cleaned their houses. She cooked their food. Sometimes she worked 3 jobs in one day, coming home so tired she could barely stand. But she never complained. Not once. Every morning she would wake Daniel up with a smile and say, "Today is going to be a good day, my son. I can feel it." She saved every penny she could. When Daniel needed school fees, she paid them. When Daniel needed books, she bought them. When Daniel was hungry, she gave him her own food and said, "I already ate, baby. This one is for you." Daniel knew she was lying. He knew she was hungry too. But Mama Ruth would just smile and pat his head, and Daniel would eat because he didn't want to make her sad. Daniel worked hard in school. He got a scholarship to college and studied business and computers. He was smart and determined. After college, he got a job at a small company in the city. The pay wasn't much, but it was more than Mama Ruth had ever made washing clothes. Then Daniel met Vanessa. Vanessa worked at a fancy coffee shop downtown. She was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that makes people stop and stare. She had smooth skin, long hair that she always styled perfectly, and she wore dresses that looked expensive even when they weren't. She had long fingernails painted bright colors and lips that smiled but never looked warm. Daniel was serving coffee one day when Vanessa walked in. She looked at him and smiled, and Daniel felt his heart jump. A woman like her had never looked at him before. They started dating. Vanessa made Daniel feel special. She would hold his hand in public and introduce him to her friends. "This is my boyfriend Daniel," she would say proudly. "He's going to be very successful one day." But Vanessa didn't like to visit Daniel's apartment. "It's so small," she would whisper. "And the neighborhood is, well, it's not very safe, is it?" And Vanessa didn't like Mama Ruth very much either. Oh, she was polite enough when they met. She would smile and say, "Nice to see you, Mama Ruth." But her eyes were cold and she never stayed long. One time, Mama Ruth cooked a special dinner for Vanessa. She made her best soup and rice, using money she had been saving for a new pair of shoes. Vanessa took one bite, made a face and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not very hungry. I ate before I came." Daniel saw the hurt in his mother's eyes, but Vanessa just checked her phone and didn't notice. Still, Daniel loved Vanessa. Or at least he thought he did. She was beautiful and confident, and she made him feel like he could be more than just a poor boy from a tiny apartment. After 2 years of dating, Daniel asked Vanessa to marry him. He couldn't afford an expensive ring, so he bought a simple silver one from a small shop. When he got down on one knee in the park, Vanessa looked at the ring and her smile flickered for just a second. But then she said yes. They got married in a small ceremony. Mama Ruth wore her best dress, the only good dress she owned, and cried happy tears. Vanessa wore white and looked beautiful, but she seemed annoyed that the wedding wasn't bigger or fancier. After the wedding, Daniel, Vanessa, and Mama Ruth all lived together in the tiny apartment. It was crowded, but Daniel thought it would be okay. They were family now. But Vanessa hated it. She hated sharing the small bathroom. She hated hearing Mama Ruth's old radio playing gospel music in the mornings. She hated eating dinner at the wobbly table in the cramped kitchen. "When are we going to get our own place?" she would ask Daniel every single day. "Soon," Daniel would promise. "I'm working on it." Then one day everything changed. Daniel got a phone call from a big company in another country. They had heard about his work with computers and technology. They wanted him to come work for them, and not just as a regular worker. They wanted him to help start a whole new division of their company. The pay was incredible. More money than Daniel had ever imagined. But there was one problem. The job was far away. Very far away. in a country across the ocean. I would have to leave for at least 5 years, Daniel told Mama Ruth and Vanessa that evening. Maybe longer. But the money? Mama, with this money I can change our lives. I can build you a real house. I can make sure you never have to work again. Mama Ruth's face fell. 5 years? That's such a long time, my son. But Vanessa's eyes lit up like fireworks. 5 years is nothing, she said quickly. Think about what you could do with that money, Daniel. This is your big chance. But what about you too? Daniel asked. I can't leave you in this tiny apartment. So build us a house before you go, Vanessa said. Use your savings. Take out a loan if you have to. Build a nice house where your mother and I can live while you're away. We'll be fine. Won't we, Mama Ruth? Mama Ruth looked at Vanessa, then at her son. She saw the hope in Daniel's eyes. She saw his big chance sitting right in front of him. We'll be fine, Mama Ruth said quietly, even though her heart was breaking. You should go, Daniel. Take the job. So Daniel did. He took out a loan and used every penny of his savings. He hired builders and worked with them every evening after his regular job. Within 6 months, the house was finished. It had 3 bedrooms, a big kitchen, a living room with soft couches, and a garden with space for flowers. It had a red roof, just like Mama Ruth had always dreamed about when Daniel was little. This is your house, Mama, Daniel said, holding her hands. You'll never have to live in a cramped apartment again. Mama Ruth cried. You did this for me? I did it for both of you, Daniel said, looking at Vanessa. You and Vanessa will live here together. You'll take care of each other while I'm gone. Like mother and daughter. Mama Ruth saw something flash across Vanessa's face, something cold and angry. But it disappeared so fast, Mama Ruth thought maybe she had imagined it. Of course, Vanessa said sweetly, taking Daniel's arm. I'll take wonderful care of your mother. She's family. But the way she said family made Mama Ruth's stomach feel tight. The day Daniel left, Mama Ruth and Vanessa went to the airport with him. Mama Ruth held her son's face in her hands and said, Promise me you'll take care of yourself. Don't work too hard. And call me even if it's just for a minute. I promise, Mama, Daniel said, tears running down his face. And I'll send money every month. Lots of money. You and Vanessa will have everything you need. I don't need money, baby. I just need you. I know, Mama. But this is for our future. 5 years will go by fast. You'll see. Daniel hugged his mother one more time. Then he hugged Vanessa, who whispered in his ear, Don't worry about anything here. I've got it all under control. Then Daniel picked up his suitcase and walked toward the gate. He turned back and waved. Mama Ruth waved back, tears streaming down her face. Vanessa waved too, but as soon as Daniel turned around, her smile disappeared. She looked at Mama Ruth with cold eyes and said nothing. They drove back to the house in silence. And that night everything changed. For the first few weeks, Vanessa was nice to Mama Ruth. Not warm or loving, but polite enough. They lived in the house together. Mama Ruth cooked meals. Vanessa went shopping and met with her friends. They didn't talk much, but they didn't fight either. Daniel called every Sunday just like he promised. How are my 2 favorite ladies? He would ask, his voice full of joy. We're fine, son, Mama Ruth would say. Then Vanessa would take the phone. Everything is perfect here, honey. Your mother and I are getting along great. Don't worry about us. Just focus on your work. And Daniel believed her. Why wouldn't he? They were family. But in the second month, things started to change. Vanessa's friends came to visit one afternoon. They were loud and fancy, wearing expensive jewelry and laughing at jokes Mama Ruth didn't understand. They sat in the living room and Mama Ruth brought them tea and cookies. Who is this? One of Vanessa's friends asked, looking Mama Ruth up and down. Oh, that's my mother-in-law, Vanessa said, waving her hand like it didn't matter. She lives here. The friend's eyes got big. You live with your husband's mother? In the same house. How do you stand it? All of Vanessa's friends laughed. Mama Ruth felt her face get hot. She quickly left the room. After the friends left, Vanessa came to find Mama Ruth in the kitchen. Mama Ruth, Vanessa said, her voice sweet but her eyes cold. I think it would be better if you stayed in your room when my friends visit. They're not used to having older people around. It makes them uncomfortable. Mama Ruth felt a pain in her chest. But this is my house too. Daniel built it for me. Vanessa's face changed. The sweetness disappeared. Actually, she said slowly, Daniel built this house for his wife. For me. You just happen to live here because Daniel feels sorry for you. That's not true, Mama Ruth whispered. Isn't it? Vanessa crossed her arms. Daniel is my husband. This is my house. And if you want to keep living here, you need to remember that. Do you understand? Mama Ruth felt tears in her eyes, but she nodded. She didn't want to cause trouble. She didn't want Daniel to worry. From that day on, things got worse and worse. Vanessa started giving Mama Ruth rules. Don't use the living room when I'm watching TV. Don't cook when my friends are here. Don't make noise in the morning. Don't take long showers. Mama Ruth followed every rule. She stayed quiet. She stayed in her room. She tried to be invisible. But it was never enough for Vanessa. Across the ocean, Daniel was working harder than he had ever worked in his life. He woke up at 5 in the morning and worked until midnight. He had brilliant ideas. He created computer programs that helped businesses run better and faster. People loved his work. His bosses promoted him. Then promoted him again. Then made him a partner in the company. Daniel started his own business on the side. Within 2 years, that business was worth millions of dollars. Within 4 years, he was a billionaire. Every month, like clockwork, Daniel sent money home. $5,000 at first. Then $8,000. Then $10,000. Sometimes more. Make sure Mama has everything she needs, he would tell Vanessa during their phone calls. Oh, she does, Vanessa would always say. She has more than enough. Stop worrying. But Daniel did worry. The phone calls with his mother got shorter and shorter. She never talked much anymore. How are you, Mama? He would ask. I'm fine, son. Are you eating well? Yes. Is everything okay with you and Vanessa? Everything is fine, Daniel. Don't worry about me. How is your work? The call started to feel strange to Daniel, but he was so busy. Always in meetings. Always traveling. Always making deals. He told himself that Mama Ruth was just getting older and more quiet. That was normal, right? And Vanessa always sounded so cheerful. Your mother is doing great, she would say. We went to church together last Sunday. She's healthy. She's happy. You should see her smiling. So Daniel believed her. He sent more money. He promised himself he would visit soon. But soon kept getting pushed back. Next month. Next year. After this big deal. After that important meeting. 5 years passed. And back at home, Mama Ruth's life had become a nightmare. After the first year, Vanessa stopped pretending completely. She stopped buying food for Mama Ruth. The money Daniel sends is for the house, Vanessa would say. If you want special food, use your own money. But Mama Ruth didn't have any money. Daniel sent everything to Vanessa's account, and Vanessa controlled it all. Mama Ruth started eating smaller and smaller meals. Sometimes just rice and a little bit of vegetable. Sometimes nothing at all. She got thinner. Her clothes started to hang loose on her body. Vanessa's friends would come over and have parties. They would cook expensive meals, steaks and pasta and desserts. The smell would drift to Mama Ruth's room and make her stomach hurt with hunger. Sometimes Vanessa would knock on Mama Ruth's door late at night. You're being too loud, she would say, even though Mama Ruth was just lying in bed silent. I'm sorry, Mama Ruth would whisper. You should be sorry. This is my house. You're only here because I allow it. Then came the day Vanessa told Mama Ruth to leave. It was a Tuesday morning. Vanessa came into Mama Ruth's room and said, I think it's time you found your own place. Mama Ruth looked up from her bed, confused. My own place? But this is my home. Daniel built this for me. Daniel built this for his family. For me. You're just a guest who has overstayed her welcome. Please, Mama Ruth said, her voice shaking. Don't send me away. Where would I go? Vanessa shrugged. That's not my problem. But if you stay here, I'm going to tell Daniel that you've been stealing from me. I'll tell him you've been taking money and jewelry. I'll tell him you've been mean to me and making my life miserable. But none of that is true. Who do you think Daniel will believe? Vanessa asked, her eyes cold. His wife? Or his mother who he hasn't seen in years? Mama Ruth felt like her heart was breaking into pieces. She knew Vanessa was right. Daniel was so far away. He only heard Vanessa's voice on the phone. He only knew what Vanessa told him. I'll give you 1 week, Vanessa said. Find somewhere else to live. And don't you dare tell Daniel about this. If you do, I'll make sure he never speaks to you again. Mama Ruth packed her few belongings into 2 small bags. She left the house with the red roof, the house her son had built for her with love, and she walked away with nowhere to go. She asked around the neighborhood. Did anyone have a room to rent? But everything cost money and Mama Ruth had nothing. Finally, an old woman from church told her about a place. There's a small hut on the edge of town, the woman said. No one lives there. It's not much, but it's shelter. Mama Ruth went to see it. The hut was tiny, Just one room with cracked walls and a roof that leaked when it rained. There was no electricity. No running water. Just 4 walls and a dirt floor. But it was all she had. Mama Ruth moved into the hut. She had no bed, so she slept on an old mat on the floor. She had no stove, so she cooked over a small fire outside. She had no money, so she ate whatever people from the church brought her. Leftover bread, overripe fruit, sometimes a small bowl of rice. She got thinner and thinner. Her hair turned gray. Her hands shook when she tried to cook. But every Sunday when Daniel called, she lied. "I'm fine, son," she would say, her voice weak. "Are you sure, Mama? You sound tired. Just a little cold. Nothing to worry about. And things with Vanessa are okay?" Mama Ruth would close her eyes and say, "Everything is fine." Because she loved her son. Because she didn't want him to worry. Because she thought this was her burden to carry alone. Meanwhile, Vanessa lived in the beautiful house, spending Daniel's money on clothes and parties and expensive dinners with her friends. She told Daniel that Mama Ruth was happy and healthy. And Daniel believed her. Until the day he finally came home. Now, 5 years later, Daniel stood in the airport with his suitcase, breathing in the air of home. He hadn't told anyone he was coming. This was going to be a surprise. He imagined walking through the door and seeing Mama Ruth's face light up. He imagined hugging her and telling her, "I'm home, Mama. And I'm never leaving you again." Daniel got into a taxi. "Take me to Riverside Estate," he told the driver. As they drove through the city, Daniel looked out the window. So much had changed. New buildings. More cars. The city had grown rich just like he had. Finally, the taxi pulled up to the house with the red roof. Daniel's heart beat faster. He paid the driver and walked up to the front door with his suitcase rolling behind him. He didn't knock. This was his house. He had built it. Daniel pushed open the door. "Mama," he called out. "Mama, I'm home." The house was quiet. Too quiet. Then he heard footsteps. Click, click, click. High heels on the tile floor. Vanessa appeared in the hallway. She was wearing a tight dress and her bright red lipstick. When she saw Daniel, her face went pale. "Daniel?" she said, her voice shaking. What are you doing here?" Daniel laughed. "What do you mean? I came home. I came to surprise you and Mama." He walked toward her with his arms open for a hug. But Vanessa stepped back. "You should have called," she said quickly. "You should have told me you were coming." "What? Is something wrong?" Daniel looked around. "Where's Mama? Is she in her room?" "No," Vanessa said. She's not here." Daniel felt his smile fade. "What do you mean she's not here? Where is she?" Vanessa smoothed her dress with shaking hands. "She went out. To visit a friend. An old friend from church." "Which friend?" "You don't know her." "When will Mama be back?" "I don't know. Maybe later. Maybe tomorrow." Something felt very wrong. Daniel's chest felt tight. "Vanessa, what's going on?" "Nothing." Vanessa said, her voice too loud. "Nothing is going on. Your mother just isn't here right now. That's all." Daniel walked past her and down the hallway. He opened the first bedroom door. It was empty except for some boxes. He opened the second door. More boxes and old furniture. He opened the third door. The room was completely empty. No bed. No dresser. Nothing. "Where is Mama's room?" Daniel asked, his voice quiet and dangerous. Vanessa stood in the doorway. "She doesn't live here anymore." Daniel turned slowly. "What did you say?" "She doesn't live here. She hasn't lived here for a while." "How long is a while?" Vanessa looked at the floor. "About 4 years." The world seemed to stop. Daniel felt like he couldn't breathe. "For years?" he whispered. "My mother hasn't lived in this house for 4 years?" "She wanted to leave," Vanessa said quickly. "She said the house was too big for her. She wanted something smaller. Simpler." "You're lying." "I'm not lying. My mother would never leave this house. I built it for her." Daniel's voice got louder. "And even if she did want to leave, she would have told me. She tells me everything." "Does she?" Vanessa shot back. "When was the last time you really talked to your mother, Daniel? When was the last time you asked her real questions?" Daniel felt like he'd been slapped. Because Vanessa was right. The calls had gotten so short. So surface level. He couldn't remember the last time he had really, truly talked to his mother. "Where is she?" Daniel asked, his voice shaking. "Where is my mother?" "I don't know." "Vanessa, I swear to God if you don't tell me." "I don't know." Vanessa shouted. "She left. She didn't tell me where she was going. That's the truth." Daniel stared at his wife. at her expensive dress, her perfect makeup, her cold eyes. And suddenly he knew. He knew she was lying. He knew something terrible had happened. "I'm going to find her," Daniel said quietly. He turned and walked toward the door. "Daniel, wait." Vanessa called, but he didn't stop. He got into another taxi and told the driver, "Take me to Mercy Church on Market Street." If anyone knew where Mama Ruth was, it would be the people at church. His mother never missed a Sunday service. They would know. They had to know. The taxi pulled up in front of Mercy Church. It was a simple building with white walls and a blue cross on top. Daniel had been here many times as a child. Mama Ruth used to bring him every Sunday, even when they were so poor they could barely afford the bus fare. Daniel pushed open the church doors. Inside it was cool and quiet. A few people sat in the wooden pews, praying softly. At the front, near the altar, an old man was sweeping the floor. "Excuse me," Daniel called out. His voice echoed in the empty space. The old man looked up. He was wearing simple clothes and had kind eyes. He squinted at Daniel, then his face broke into a smile. "Daniel? Little Daniel Miller?" Daniel walked closer. He recognized the man now. It was Mr. Peter, the church caretaker. He had been working at the church for as long as Daniel could remember. "Mr. Peter," Daniel said, shaking his hand. "It's good to see you. My boy. Look at you. All grown up and fancy." Mr. Peter laughed, but then his smile faded. "We heard you were abroad, making lots of money. Your mama talks about you all the time." Daniel's heart jumped. "You've seen my mother? Recently?" "Of course. She comes to church every Sunday. Never misses." Mr. Peter leaned on his broom. "Although she hasn't been looking too good lately. Very thin. Very tired." "Where does she live?" Daniel asked urgently. "Do you know?" Mr. Peter's face became serious. "You don't know where your own mother lives?" It's complicated. Please, Mr. Peter. I need to find her." The old man studied Daniel's face for a long moment. Then he sighed. "She lives out past the old market, on the edge of town, in a small hut near the river." Daniel felt his stomach drop. "A hut? What do you mean, a hut?" "Just that. A small hut. One room. No electricity." Mr. Peter shook his head sadly. "We've been bringing her food when we can. The church ladies take turns. But she's proud, your mama. She doesn't like to ask for help." Daniel felt like he was going to be sick. "How long has she been living there?" "For years, maybe. Maybe longer." "For years." His mother had been living in a hut for 4 years while he sent thousands of dollars every month. While Vanessa lived in the beautiful house with the red roof. "Can you take me to her?" Daniel asked, his voice breaking. "Of course, my boy. Come." Mr. Peter put away his broom and led Daniel outside. They got into Daniel's taxi, and Mr. Peter gave directions to the driver. They drove through the city, past the nice neighborhoods with big houses and clean streets. They drove past the busy market where vendors sold fruits and vegetables. They kept driving until the roads became dirt and the houses became smaller and smaller. Finally they reached the edge of town. There were no streetlights here. No paved roads. Just dirt paths and scattered shacks. "Stop here," Mr. Peter said to the driver. They got out of the taxi. Daniel told the driver to wait. Then he and Mr. Peter walked down a narrow path between tall weeds and thorny bushes. "It's just up ahead," Mr. Peter said quietly. Daniel's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst out of his chest. His hands were shaking. His throat felt tight. Then he saw it. The hut. It was smaller than his childhood bedroom. The walls were made of old wood and pieces of metal. The roof was rusty tin with holes in it. There was no door, just a piece of cloth hanging in the doorway. Daniel stopped walking. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. "Go on," Mr. Peter said gently, putting a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "She's inside." Daniel forced his feet to move. One step. Then another. Then another. He reached the cloth door and pushed it aside. The inside of the hut was dark. There was one small window that let in a little bit of light. Daniel's eyes adjusted slowly. He saw a mat on the dirt floor. A small pot in the corner. A plastic bucket for water. And sitting on the mat, eating from a cracked bowl, was Mama Ruth. She was so thin. Her clothes hung off her like they were 3 sizes too big. Her hair was completely gray now. Her hands shook as she lifted the spoon to her mouth. She looked up when Daniel entered. For a moment, she just stared at him like she was seeing a ghost. Then the bowl fell from her hands and clattered to the floor. "Daniel?" she whispered. Daniel couldn't speak. Tears were running down his face. He fell to his knees in front of his mother. "Mama," he choked out. Mama, what happened to you? Mama Ruth's hands flew to her face. She looked embarrassed, ashamed. You weren't supposed to see this, she said, her voice trembling. You weren't supposed to know. Know what? Mama, why are you living here? Why aren't you in the house? The house I built for you. Mama Ruth looked down at her hands. I chose this, son. I wanted a simpler life. Don't lie to me, Daniel said, his voice breaking. Please, Mama. Don't lie to me. Not you. And then Mama Ruth started to cry. Big tears rolled down her thin cheeks. Her whole body shook with sobs. Daniel wrapped his arms around his mother. She felt so small, so fragile, like she might break. Tell me the truth, Daniel whispered. Please. Mr. Peter quietly left them alone. Daniel heard his footsteps walking away, giving them privacy. For a long time Mama Ruth just cried. Daniel held her and cried too. All the years apart. All the missed time. All the pain. Finally, Mama Ruth's sobs became softer. She pulled back and wiped her eyes with the edge of her worn dress. I didn't want you to worry, she said quietly. Tell me what happened, Daniel said. From the beginning. Mama Ruth took a shaky breath. When you first left, things were okay. Vanessa was polite. We didn't talk much, but we didn't fight either. And then, slowly things changed. She started making rules. I couldn't use the living room. I couldn't cook when her friends were there. I had to stay in my room most of the time. Daniel felt anger rising in his chest, hot and fierce. Then she started controlling the food, Mama Ruth continued. She said the money you sent was for the house, not for me. She gave me smaller and smaller portions. Sometimes nothing at all. Mama, why didn't you tell me? I tried once, Mama Ruth said, looking down. I called you, remember? About 2 years ago? I wanted to tell you everything. But Vanessa was standing right there, listening. And when I hesitated, you said you were busy. You said you had to go. So I said everything was fine. Daniel remembered that call. He had been in a meeting. He had rushed his mother off the phone. He felt sick. After 3 years, Vanessa told me to leave, Mama Ruth said. She said if I didn't, she would tell you I was stealing from her. She said she would make sure you never spoke to me again. And you believed her? Daniel, you were so far away. You only heard her voice on the phone. I thought maybe you would believe her over me. You hadn't seen me in so long. And she's your wife. You love her. I love you, Mama. You're my mother. I know, baby. I know. But I was scared. So I left. I found this place. It was all I could afford with no money. But I sent money every month. Thousands of dollars. All to Vanessa's account, Mama Ruth said softly. I never saw any of it. Daniel stood up. He was shaking with rage. She took everything? All the money I sent for you? She spent it on herself, on her friends, on parties and clothes and fancy things. And you lived here? Eating scraps? For 4 years. Mama Ruth nodded. The church helped me. Good people brought me food, gave me clothes. But I was too ashamed to ask for more. Ashamed? Mama, you have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm your mother, Mama Ruth said, her voice breaking again. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to take care of you, not the other way around. But I became a burden. I became someone my own son had to support from across the ocean. Stop it, Daniel said, kneeling down again. He took his mother's face in his hands, just like she used to do to him when he was little. You are not a burden. You are my mother. You sacrificed everything for me. Everything. And I failed you. No, Daniel. I did. I sent money and thought that was enough. I called for 5 minutes a week and thought that was enough. But it wasn't. Money isn't the same as being here. Money isn't the same as protecting you. Mama Ruth touched her son's face. You were building a future. You were doing what I raised you to do. I was being selfish, Daniel interrupted. I was so focused on making money and being successful that I forgot what really mattered. I forgot about you. They sat there in that tiny hut, holding each other. Outside, the sun was starting to set. Golden light came through the holes in the roof. Mama, Daniel said finally, pack your things. You're coming with me. Where? Anywhere but here. We'll go to a hotel tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure everything out. But you are never, ever sleeping in this place again. Do you understand? Mama Ruth started to protest. But Daniel, what about Vanessa? I don't care about Vanessa right now. I care about you. She's your wife. And you're my mother. The woman who gave up everything so I could have a life. The woman who worked 3 jobs so I could go to school. The woman who ate nothing so I could eat something. Daniel's voice was fierce now. I'm not leaving you here, Mama. Not for one more night. Mama Ruth looked at her son. She saw the determination in his eyes. The love. The regret. Okay, she whispered. She had so few belongings it only took a minute to pack. 2 dresses. A pair of shoes. A small Bible. A photograph of Daniel when he was young. That was all she had in the world. Daniel carried her bag and helped her stand. She was so weak she could barely walk. He put his arm around her and supported her as they walked out of the hut. Mr. Peter was waiting outside with the taxi. You found her, he said, smiling sadly. Thank you, Mr. Peter, Daniel said. Thank you for taking care of her when I couldn't. She's a good woman. The best. You take care of her now, you hear? I will. I promise. Daniel helped Mama Ruth into the taxi. As they drove away, he looked back at the hut one last time. That tiny, broken shack where his mother, his precious mother, had suffered alone for 4 years. He would never forgive himself for this. But more than that, he would never forgive Vanessa. Daniel took Mama Ruth to the nicest hotel in the city. The Golden Palace Hotel had tall glass doors, marble floors, and chandeliers that sparkled like diamonds. When they walked in, the hotel staff looked at Mama Ruth with confusion and judgment. She was so thin, her clothes were so worn. She looked out of place among the wealthy guests in their expensive outfits. But when Daniel walked up to the front desk and said, I need your best suite, and pulled out his black credit card, their attitudes changed immediately. Right away, Mr. Miller, the desk clerk said, recognizing his name. We have the presidential suite available. Perfect. They rode the elevator to the top floor. The suite had 3 bedrooms, a living room bigger than Mama Ruth's old hut, and floor-to-ceiling windows that showed the whole city. Daniel, Mama Ruth whispered, looking around. This is too much. Nothing is too much for you, Mama. He ordered room service, soup, bread, roasted chicken, vegetables, fruit. When the food came, Mama Ruth's eyes got big. I can't eat all this, she said. Just eat what you can. Slowly. Your stomach isn't used to big meals. Mama Ruth ate slowly, carefully. Daniel watched her, noticing how her hands still shook. How she ate like someone who was used to going hungry. After dinner, Daniel ran a bath for his mother. He made sure the water was warm and added some nice-smelling soap. He laid out fresh towels and a soft robe. Take your time, Mama, he said. Enjoy it. When Mama Ruth came out of the bathroom later, her eyes were red from crying. But she looked cleaner. More comfortable. I haven't had a proper bath in so long, she said quietly. Daniel felt his heart break all over again. He showed her to the biggest bedroom. The bed was huge and soft, with fluffy white pillows and a thick comforter. Is this for me? Mama Ruth asked. Yes, Mama. This is your room. She sat on the edge of the bed and ran her hand over the soft sheets. It's like a cloud. You sleep okay? Sleep as long as you want. I'll be in the next room if you need anything. Mama Ruth looked up at her son. Daniel, what happens tomorrow? Tomorrow we go to the hospital. We make sure you're healthy. And then, I deal with Vanessa. Mama Ruth's face filled with worry. Please don't do anything you'll regret. The only thing I regret is not coming home sooner. Daniel kissed his mother's forehead, just like she used to kiss his when he was little. Then he went to his own room. But he couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything Mama Ruth had told him. 4 years. 4 years of suffering. 4 years of hunger and loneliness. 4 years while he sent money that Vanessa spent on herself. Around midnight, Daniel picked up his phone. He scrolled through his contacts until he found Vanessa's number. His finger hovered over the call button. But then he stopped. No, he wouldn't call her. He wouldn't give her a chance to prepare lies or excuses. Tomorrow he would go back to that house. And tomorrow Vanessa would face the truth. Daniel woke up early the next morning. He hadn't slept much, maybe 2 or 3 hours. His mind was too full of anger and guilt and sadness. He got dressed and walked quietly to Mama Ruth's room. He knocked softly on the door. Mama? Are you awake? Yes, son. Come in. Daniel opened the door. Mama Ruth was sitting on the bed, already dressed in one of her old dresses. She looked tiny in that big fancy room. How did you sleep? Daniel asked. Like a baby, Mama Ruth said with a small smile. That bed was so soft. I forgot what it felt like to sleep on something soft. Daniel sat down next to her. Mama, today I want to take you to see a doctor. Just to make sure you're okay. I'm fine, Daniel. Really? Please. Just let me do this. For my own peace of mind. Mama Ruth nodded. Okay. They had breakfast in the hotel restaurant. Daniel ordered pancakes, eggs, fruit, and juice. Mama Ruth ate slowly, still not used to having so much food. Other people in the restaurant stared at them. Daniel in his expensive suit. Mama Ruth in her worn dress. They looked like they didn't belong together. But Daniel didn't care. Let them stare. After breakfast, they took a taxi to the best hospital in the city. Daniel had called ahead and made an appointment with the top doctor. The doctor was a kind woman named Dr. Sarah. She examined Mama Ruth carefully, checking her heart, her blood pressure, listening to her lungs. When she was done, she asked to speak to Daniel privately. "Your mother is severely malnourished," Dr. Sarah said, her voice serious. "Her body weight is dangerously low. She's anemic, which means she doesn't have enough iron in her blood. Her bones are weak. She's dehydrated." Daniel felt his hands clenching into fists. "Will she be okay?" "Yes, but it will take time. She needs to eat regular, healthy meals. Small portions at first, then gradually more. She needs vitamins and supplements. She needs rest. And she needs to see me again in 2 weeks." "Whatever she needs, she'll get it," Daniel said firmly. Dr. Sarah wrote out prescriptions and gave Daniel a list of foods Mama Ruth should eat. Then she turned to him with gentle eyes. "Mr. Miller, may I ask, how did your mother get into this condition?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "That's a long story, doctor." "I see. Well, the important thing now is that she's getting help. She's lucky to have a son who cares so much." "I'm the lucky one," Daniel said quietly. After the hospital, Daniel took Mama Ruth to a store. A nice store with beautiful clothes and soft fabrics. "Pick out anything you want, Mama," he said. "Daniel, I don't need. Please. Let me do this." So Mama Ruth picked out a few simple dresses. Nothing too fancy. Just comfortable, pretty dresses that fit her properly. Daniel also bought her new shoes, a warm jacket, and some other things she needed. As they walked through the store, Daniel saw how people looked at his mother differently when she was with him. When she was alone in her old clothes, they had ignored her or looked at her with pity. But now that she was with a rich man in an expensive suit, they smiled at her. They treated her with respect. It made Daniel angry. People shouldn't be treated differently based on how they look or how much money they have. Back at the hotel, Mama Ruth tried on one of her new dresses. It was light blue with small white flowers. When she looked at herself in the mirror, tears came to her eyes. "I forgot what it felt like to wear something new," she whispered. Daniel hugged her from behind. "You deserve new things, Mama. You deserve everything good." They had lunch together in the hotel room. Daniel had ordered chicken soup, rice, and vegetables, foods from the doctor's list. As they ate, Mama Ruth asked, "When are you going to see Vanessa?" "This afternoon," Daniel said. "What will you say to her?" "I don't know yet. But she needs to hear the truth. She needs to know what she did." Mama Ruth put down her spoon. "Daniel, I don't want to be the reason your marriage ends." "You're not the reason, Mama. Vanessa is the reason. She made her choices. She did terrible things. And now she has to face the consequences. But Daniel, marriage is important. Maybe you can forgive her. Maybe." "Mama," Daniel interrupted gently, "would you forgive someone who treated your child the way Vanessa treated you?" Mama Ruth was quiet for a moment. Then she shook her head. "No, I wouldn't." "Then don't ask me to forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever." At 3 o'clock that afternoon, Daniel stood in front of the house with the red roof. His hands were in his pockets. His face was calm. But inside he was burning with anger. He walked up to the front door and used his key to open it. The house was cool and quiet. Daniel could hear music playing softly from upstairs, some pop song on the radio. "Vanessa," he called out. The music stopped. Footsteps on the stairs. Then Vanessa appeared, wearing yoga pants and a sports bra. Her hair was in a ponytail. She had been exercising. When she saw Daniel, her face went pale. "You came back," she said. "Of course I came back. Did you think I wouldn't?" Vanessa came down the stairs slowly. Did you find your mother?" "Yes, I found her." "Is she okay?" Daniel laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Is she okay?" "No, Vanessa. She's not okay. She's sick. She's starving. She's been living in a hut with no electricity and no water for 4 years." Vanessa looked at the floor. "I can explain." "Explain?" Daniel's voice rose. "Explain what?" "Explain how you kicked my mother out of the house I built for her? Explain how you took all the money I sent and spent it on yourself? Explain how you let her suffer while you lived like a queen? It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Daniel stepped closer. "Tell me, Vanessa. Tell me your side of the story. I'm listening. Vanessa wrapped her arms around herself. Your mother was difficult to live with. She was always in the way. She made my friends uncomfortable. I tried to be nice to her, but she was ungrateful. Ungrateful? Daniel couldn't believe what he was hearing. My mother is the most grateful person I've ever known. She never complains about anything. That's because she never said anything to you. She never told you how she would criticize me. How she would make me feel bad about spending your money. How she acted like she was better than me because she suffered more. You're lying. I'm not lying. Vanessa's voice got louder. You weren't here, Daniel. You have no idea what it was like living with her every day. So you kicked her out? You sent a 70-year-old woman to live in a shack. I didn't send her anywhere. She chose to leave. Because you threatened her. You told her you would turn me against her. Vanessa's eyes widened. She told you that? Yes. She told me everything. And you believe her over me? Your own wife. Daniel stepped even closer. His voice became very quiet and very cold. Yes, I believe her. Because my mother has never lied to me in her entire life. But you? You've been lying to me for 4 years. Vanessa's face crumpled. Tears started running down her cheeks. Daniel, please. I made mistakes. I know I did. But I love you. We can fix this. We can bring your mother back here. I'll apologize. I'll make it right. You'll apologize? Daniel shook his head. Do you think an apology fixes 4 years of cruelty? 4 years of letting her go hungry? 4 years of letting her sleep on a dirt floor? I didn't know it was that bad. You didn't know because you didn't care. You didn't bother to check on her even once. Vanessa grabbed Daniel's arm. Please, Daniel. Please don't leave me. I'll change. I promise I'll change. Just give me another chance. Daniel looked down at her hand on his arm. Then he pulled away. I trusted you, he said quietly. When I left, I put the 2 most important people in my life in the same house because I thought you would take care of each other. I thought you would love my mother the way I love her. I tried. No, you didn't try. You saw her as an inconvenience. As something in your way. You wanted the money and the status of being my wife, but you didn't want the responsibility that came with it. That's not fair. What's not fair, Daniel said, his voice rising again, is what you did to my mother. What's not fair is that she suffered while you partied. What's not fair is that I sent money to take care of her and you kept it all for yourself. I kept this house running. I paid the bills. I maintained everything. With MY money. Money I sent for both of you. They stared at each other. Vanessa was crying hard now. Mascara ran down her face. What happens now? She whispered. Daniel took a deep breath. Now you need to leave this house. What? You heard me. Pack your things and leave. This is my house too. No. This house belongs to me. I built it. I paid for it. And I built it for my mother, not for you. You can't just kick me out. I'm your wife. Are you? Daniel asked coldly. Because a wife is supposed to be a partner. A wife is supposed to care about the people her husband loves. A wife is supposed to be trustworthy. You are none of those things. Vanessa fell to her knees. Please, Daniel. Please don't do this. Where will I go? I have nothing without you. You should have thought about that before you mistreated my mother. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. Anything you want. Daniel looked down at the woman he had married 5 years ago. The woman he thought he loved. She looked small and desperate on the floor. But he felt nothing. No love. No pity. Nothing. I'll give you 1 week, he said. 1 week to pack your things and find somewhere else to live. After that, my lawyers will contact you about the divorce. Divorce? Vanessa looked up, her eyes wide with horror. No. No, please. You can't divorce me. I can and I will. You made your choice when you hurt my mother. Now I'm making mine. Daniel turned and walked toward the door. Daniel? Vanessa screamed. Daniel, please. Don't leave. We can work this out. I love you. But Daniel kept walking. He opened the door and stepped outside into the sunshine. Behind him, he could hear Vanessa crying, screaming, begging. But he didn't turn around. He got into his car and drove away from the house with the red roof. And he didn't look back. When Daniel got back to the hotel, Mama Ruth was sitting in the living room reading her Bible. She looked up when he came in. How did it go? She asked quietly. Daniel sat down next to her. I told her to leave. I told her I wanted divorce. Mama Ruth closed her Bible and put her hand on her son's arm. Are you sure that's what you want? Yes, Mama. I'm sure. What she did to you? I can't forgive that. And even if I could, I don't think I could ever trust her again. I'm sorry, son. Don't be sorry. You did nothing wrong. This is all on Vanessa. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Daniel said, Mama, I want you to come live with me. Live with you? Where? I have a big house abroad. 5 bedrooms. A garden. It's beautiful. You would love it. Mama Ruth shook her head. Daniel, I can't leave. This is my home. My church is here. My friends are here. Then I'll move back here. I'll run my businesses from home. I'll build you a new house, anywhere you want, with everything you need. And I'll live nearby so I can see you every day. Daniel, you don't have to do that. Yes, I do. I missed 5 years of your life, Mama. 5 years I can never get back. I'm not missing any more. Tears filled Mama Ruth's eyes. You really mean that? I really mean it. From now on you're my priority. Not work. Not money. You. Mama Ruth hugged her son tight. I love you, Daniel. I love you too, Mama. The next 7 days passed quickly. Daniel stayed at the hotel with Mama Ruth. Every morning they had breakfast together. Every afternoon they would take slow walks in the park nearby. Every evening they would sit and talk, really talk, about everything they had missed in the past 5 years. Mama Ruth told Daniel stories about the people at church who had helped her. The kind ladies who brought her food. Mr. Peter who always checked on her. The young couple who gave her a warm blanket when winter came. There are still good people in the world, Mama Ruth said. Even when things are hard, God sends angels to help. Daniel listened to every word. He asked questions. He paid attention. He was present in a way he hadn't been for years. Each day Mama Ruth looked a little better. Her cheeks got less hollow. Her eyes got brighter. She smiled more. Dr. Sarah had been right. With proper food, rest, and care, Mama Ruth was slowly getting her strength back. On the 3rd day, Daniel met with his lawyers. He told them everything that had happened. They started preparing divorce papers. This should be straightforward, the lawyer said. Since the house was built with your money before the marriage and was intended for your mother, Vanessa has no legal claim to it. And given what she did, she won't get much of anything else either. Good, Daniel said firmly. On the 5th day, Daniel went back to the house to check if Vanessa had left yet. When he arrived, he saw boxes stacked by the front door. Vanessa's car was in the driveway, packed full of clothes and bags. Vanessa came out of the house carrying another box. When she saw Daniel, she stopped. She looked different. Her hair wasn't styled. She wore no makeup. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. I'm almost done, she said quietly. I'll be gone by tomorrow. Daniel nodded. Where will you go? My sister's house. In the next city. She said I can stay with her until I figure things out. They stood there awkwardly for a moment. Daniel, Vanessa said, her voice shaking. I know you won't believe me, but I really am sorry. I was horrible to your mother. I was selfish and cruel. And I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to know. I do regret it. Every day I regret it. Daniel looked at his wife, soon-to-be ex-wife. Part of him wanted to yell at her. To tell her how much she had hurt him and his mother. But he was tired of being angry. I hope you learn from this, Vanessa, he said quietly. I hope you become a better person. Because the woman you were these past few years, that's not someone anyone should be. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. She nodded and went back inside the house. Daniel didn't follow her. He got back in his car and drove away. 2 weeks later, Daniel took Mama Ruth to see a piece of land on the other side of the city. It was in a quiet neighborhood with big trees and friendly neighbors. The land had a view of rolling hills and a small stream running through it. What do you think, Mama? Daniel asked. Mama Ruth looked around, her eyes wide. It's beautiful, son. I want to build you a house here. A real home. Not too big, just comfortable. With a nice kitchen, a garden for growing vegetables, and a front porch where you can sit and watch the sunrise. Daniel, you don't have to. I want to, Mama. Please, let me do this for you. Mama Ruth smiled. Okay. But only if you promise to visit me every single day. I'll do better than that, Daniel said. I'm going to build my own house right next door. That way, I can have breakfast with you every morning and dinner with you every evening. Mama Ruth's eyes filled with happy tears. You would do that? Of course. I told you, no more missing time with you. From now on, we're going to be a family again. A real family. They hired architects and builders. Daniel worked closely with them to design exactly what Mama Ruth wanted. A cozy house with 2 bedrooms, a big kitchen with lots of counter space, a living room with comfortable furniture, and a beautiful garden. While the house was being built, Mama Ruth stayed in a nice apartment that Daniel rented for her. It wasn't fancy like the hotel, but it was comfortable and safe. Every day, Daniel would pick her up and they would go to the construction site to check on the progress. Mama Ruth would bring snacks for the workers and thank them for their hard work. The workers loved her. "Your mother is an angel," the head builder told Daniel one day. "She treats us like family." "That's because she has a heart of gold," Daniel said proudly. 3 months after Daniel came home, the divorce was finalized. Vanessa signed all the papers without fighting. She knew she had no ground to stand on. She took her personal belongings and a small amount of money that Daniel's lawyers offered her. Enough to start over, but not enough to live like a rich woman. "It's more than she deserves," Daniel's lawyer said. "I know," Daniel replied. "But I don't want to be cruel. I just want to be done." The house with the red roof, the one Daniel had built for his mother all those years ago, was officially transferred back to Daniel. He thought about selling it, but then he had a better idea. He donated it to the church. "Use it as a shelter," Daniel told Pastor James. "For people who have nowhere else to go. For mothers who need help. For families in trouble. Let it be a place of hope instead of a place of pain." Pastor James was amazed. "Daniel, this is incredibly generous." "It's what my mother would want," Daniel said, smiling. When Mama Ruth heard what Daniel had done, she hugged him tight and said, "I'm so proud of you, son. So proud. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.